History taught us that Adolf Hitler lived like a monk, a man with no wife, no luxury, no weaknesses, a leader sacrificing everything for Germany. That was the illusion. Tonight, we tear it apart. Because behind the staged photographs, behind the speeches and the flags, was a secret world built from stolen wealth, private palaces, hidden tunnels, forbidden romances, and the broken lives of women who loved him, or tried to escape him. He didn't live simply. He lived like a king. And the lies that protected him shaped the fate of millions. This is the dark truth about Hitler's secret life, of luxury, power, and the women history tried to erase. For more than a decade, Hitler convinced the world, and his own people, that he lived almost without personal comfort. The propaganda was brilliant. Goebbels crafted an image of an ascetic leader who slept on a simple wooden bed, ate vegetarian meals, rejected alcohol, disliked comfort, and possessed no personal wealth. A true man of the people. Germans suffering from unemployment, rationing, and humiliation after World War I deeply needed a leader who seemed like them. The myth worked. But from the moment Hitler took power in 1933, the illusion began to crack, far away from public eyes. Because the real Hitler lived in extraordinary wealth. 1. The money empire no one saw. Hitler never paid a single Reichsmark in taxes. Not in 1933, not in 1939, not ever. The moment he became chancellor, the tax office simply stopped sending him notices. By national necessity, he was declared exempt from taxation. Everything he earned, he kept. And he earned far more than most Germans could imagine. Hidden salary power. His combined roles as chancellor, president, and supreme commander paid the equivalent of millions today. But Hitler found an even more powerful revenue stream. One hidden in plain sight. Mein Kampf, the forced bestseller. Every German newlywed was required by law to purchase Mein Kampf. Schools stocked it. Government offices stocked it. Nazi organizations bought it in bulk. By 1939, Hitler earned the modern equivalent of $20 to $25 million from the book alone. This was not the income of a monk. This was the income of a celebrity dictator. 2. Industrial bribes disguised as donations. German industrialists quickly understood something fundamental. Supporting Hitler wasn't optional. Companies like Krupp, IG Farben, Daimler-Benz, and Siemens showered him with money, favors, exclusive cars, gifts, estates, private funds. These donations protected them from competition, regulation, and political punishment. Some executives met Hitler personally, smiling as they delivered suitcases of cash. They didn't fund the Nazi Party. They funded Hitler himself. Behind the myth of sacrifice was a private network of wealth flowing directly into his pockets. 3. Obersalzberg, the private kingdom. Propaganda showed Hitler relaxing in a modest mountain home. Reality. He owned nearly the entire mountain. Obersalzberg became a fortress of checkpoints with armed SS, restricted roads, surveillance posts, miles of tunnels carved into the mountain, sophisticated bunkers, dozens of confiscated homes, staff exceeding the size of a small hotel. At its center was the Berghof, Hitler's true palace. The Berghof interior, luxury hidden from the nation. Inside the Berghof were Italian marble floors, handcrafted furniture from Munich's top artisans, a 30-foot panoramic window opening onto the Alps, a private movie theater, rare wines collected from France and Italy, an enormous library of art, history, and architecture. expensive carpets and gifts from foreign leaders. Rooms were filled with stolen art, seized from Jewish families, French estates, Dutch galleries, and Austrian collections. The humble Führer walked daily across stolen masterpieces. 4. The staff that maintained the illusion. To maintain his private kingdom, Hitler had 30-plus secretaries, personal chefs, gardeners, chauffeurs, butlers, valets, security officers, servants, photographers, housekeepers. Every detail was controlled. His pillows were arranged a certain way, his napkins folded a certain way, his meals timed exactly to his preferences. While German civilians rationed butter, Hitler had custom-made pastries daily. While German families lost homes in bombings, Hitler expanded his mountain estate. While soldiers fought on frozen fronts, Hitler watched films in his private cinema. The contrast was staggering and completely hidden. 5. The carefully constructed public image. Germany never saw his wealth because Goebbels forbade it. Photographers were instructed, never show luxury, never show expensive clothing, never show private art, never photograph certain parts of the Berghof, never mention his staff. Photos released to the public showed Hitler sitting on a simple wooden chair, wearing plain coats, eating bread, walking on rustic paths. The reality: he wore tailored suits, slept in heated rooms, ate gourmet vegetarian meals, and walked on carefully engineered private trails. The public saw a monk. The inner circle saw a monarch, and in that monarch's private world were the women whose existence the regime tried hardest to hide. Because nothing threatened the Hitler myth more than the truth. He had a secret world of lovers, obsessions, control, and tragedy. Hitler wanted the world to believe he belonged only to Germany, that he had no wife, no romantic distractions, no private attachments. But behind his carefully crafted mask was an entire world of forbidden relationships, women who loved him, feared him, idolized him, and in many cases were destroyed by him. Their stories reveal the emotions, insecurities, and power games hidden behind the dictator's cold speeches. Let's step into the shadows. Geli Raubal wasn't just another woman in Hitler's life. She was the center of it. Hitler first laid eyes on her when she was only 16. He was more than halfway into his 30s. Beautiful, lively, charismatic, Geli had a warmth Hitler lacked. And he became consumed by her presence. The control: he demanded she move into his Munich apartment. He controlled where she went, who she spoke to, what she wore, who she could date, when she could leave the house. Friends found the situation disturbing. Geli wasn't treated as family. She was treated like property. When she tried to pursue relationships outside Hitler's orbit, he interfered violently. Hitler's chauffeur later revealed, she lived in a golden cage. The breaking point. By 1931, Geli felt suffocated. She wanted to study in Vienna. Hitler refused. They argued constantly. Witnesses heard shouting. Then on September 18, 1931, at just 23 years old, Geli was found dead in Hitler's apartment. A gunshot wound to the chest. Official cause: suicide. But the rumors ignited instantly. Was she trying to escape him? Was it an accident? Did Hitler erupt in rage? Or did she choose death over domination? We'll never know. But her death shattered Hitler. Aides described him collapsing, sobbing uncontrollably. He disappeared from public life for days. Some called her the only woman he ever loved. Others believed she was the one he could never control fully. And that drove him to madness. Her death hardened him. After Geli, Hitler became colder, more ruthless, more obsessed with loyalty and control. Geli Raubal didn't just die. Her loss transformed the dictator he would become. While Geli was the obsession he couldn't control, Eva was the companion he could shape completely. Eva met Hitler as a teenage shop assistant working in a photography store. She was 17. He was 40. Hitler liked women who were young, easily influenced, emotionally dependent, submissive, non-political. Eva fit his ideal perfectly, but he kept her hidden from the entire nation. A secret relationship. Eva spent more than 12 years with Hitler. Yet the German public never saw her at official events. Why? Because a girlfriend would destroy his image as a messiah-like leader who loved nothing but Germany. So Hitler locked her away in the Berghof. Eva had the finest clothing from Paris, jewelry and cosmetics no German woman could dream of during wartime, her own rooms in Hitler's mansion, pets, luxury gifts, and all the time in the world. Private access to Hitler's emotions when others were shut out. And yet, she wasn't allowed to attend rallies, appear beside him in public, speak to diplomats, influence political decisions, even be acknowledged as his partner. Imagine loving someone who must deny you exist. The emotional toll. Eva lived in a world of isolation and depression. Twice she attempted suicide, once with sleeping pills, once by shooting herself in the chest. Both times, Hitler panicked, not because he feared losing her, but because losing control terrified him. Afterward, he brought her even deeper into his circle, yet still kept her from the world. Eva's tragedy was that she loved a man incapable of emotional intimacy. She wanted a wedding, a life, a future. Hitler gave her secrecy, loneliness, and endless waiting. The final choice. In April 1945, as the Third Reich collapsed, Eva made the most dramatic decision of her life. She left her safe mountain paradise and descended into the burning ruins of Berlin. To be with Hitler in the bunker. She knew she would die there. But she chose love, or what she believed was love. Only then, when Germany was already defeated, Hitler finally gave her what she wanted for 12 long years. A wedding, April 29th, 1945. An underground ceremony lasting less than 10 minutes. A ring, a signature, a kiss. 24 hours later, they were both dead. Eva Braun entered history as the woman Hitler only acknowledged when he had nothing left to lose. While Eva lived hidden in the darkness, one woman worshipped Hitler openly. Unity Mitford, a British aristocrat, became obsessed with Hitler in the early 1930s. She moved to Munich just to be near him. From the moment they met, Hitler adored her enthusiasm. Unity idolized him, defended him, wrote about him, brought him foreign prestige, made him feel adored in a way German women couldn't. Their relationship was emotional, intense, and deeply strange. Hitler often seated her beside him at gatherings. Eva Braun hated Unity because Unity was one of the few women allowed into Hitler's public and semi-public life. Then came September 1939. Britain declared war on Germany. Unity was devastated. That afternoon, she walked into Munich's English garden, placed a gun to her head, and pulled the trigger. She survived, but barely. Her life was ruined. Hitler visited her in the hospital, emotionally shattered. He arranged for her to return to England under special permission. Unity's story shows something chilling. Hitler didn't just attract followers, he inspired dangerous devotion. Winifred Wagner, daughter-in-law of composer Richard Wagner, adored Hitler with an intensity even Unity couldn't match. She saw him as an artistic savior, a misunderstood genius, a moral figure, and potentially Athenio. Rumors exploded that Winifred wanted to marry Hitler. Many believed the feeling might have been mutual, at least emotionally. She wrote him affectionate letters, sent him gifts, defended him throughout the war, and remained loyal even after 1945. Hitler visited her house like a second home. He loved the atmosphere, the validation, the artistic prestige, but he never allowed a relationship. Why? Because losing the image of a celibate leader meant losing the myth he built around himself. Hitler's secretaries, Traudl Junge, Christa Schroeder, Gerda Christian, were the closest observers of his private world. They revealed disturbing truths. In private, Hitler was insecure, needy, childish, emotionally volatile, terrified of abandonment, obsessed with controlling the women around him. He wasn't the stone-faced dictator Germany saw on stage. He was a man desperate for admiration and terrified of emotional intimacy. The secretary saw how he used affection, isolation, gifts, jealousy, secrecy to manipulate the women around him. And they saw how each woman, Geli, Eva, Unity, Winifred, served a different emotional need for him. Hitler didn't build his private world alone. He built it using fear, force, and stolen wealth, extracted from millions of victims across Europe. While German citizens rationed butter, queued for bread, and watched sons march to frozen fronts, Hitler surrounded himself with luxury items so rare that even kings in Europe didn't own equivalents. This is the part of his life almost no documentary shows, the obscene opulence hidden behind the mask of a humble Führer, and how that wealth shaped the lives of the women closest to him. Hitler considered himself a failed artist. Rejected twice from the Vienna Academy of Fine Arts, he carried the rejection like a wound, a humiliation he could never forgive. When he gained power, he rewrote the story. Across occupied Europe, his armies didn't just conquer territories. They raided museums, private collections, Jewish households, and national galleries. They looted millions of artworks, including Michelangelo sculptures, Raphael paintings, Rembrandt masterpieces, Monet water lilies, Van Eyck and Vermeer pieces, Renoir collections, entire Jewish family heirlooms. Some treasures were selected personally by Hitler for his dream project, the Führer Museum in Linz, a massive cultural monument he planned to build in Austria, to display the greatest stolen art in the world and to immortalize himself as a patron of culture. But many pieces didn't go to the museum. They went to his homes. Eva Braun walked through hallways lined with stolen art. Hitler's private bedrooms had paintings worth millions today. At Berghof, a Vermeer hung casually above a table where they drank tea. Hitler didn't just steal nations, he stole their beauty. To the public, Hitler showed images of a simple retreat in the mountains. In reality, the Berghof was a palace, a fortress, a symbol of personal power, and an emotional playground he used to impress women. The panoramic window, the famous 30-foot window that opened onto the Alps, wasn't just architecture. It was theater. When Geli visited, he used it to show her his world. With Eva, it became their private photo stage. With diplomats, it was his stage of intimidation. Hitler loved grand gestures. This window allowed him to perform. Luxury everywhere. Inside the Berghof were hand-woven carpets, rare books in custom shelves, the finest Italian marble, imported French furniture, personal wine cellars, the newest projector technology, a private cinema where he watched Hollywood films, custom chandeliers, heated floors, servants waiting at every corner. While the Reich collapsed financially, Hitler was extending his dining hall. While Jews were stripped of their homes, Hitler was expanding his personal study room. While civilians starved, Hitler fed Eva Braun caviar and exotic fruits, the women, and the Berghof. Geli sometimes stayed in the guest rooms here and despised the isolation. Eva, in contrast, bloomed in this artificial paradise. With nothing to do except take photos, sunbathe, and wait for Hitler, she filled dozens of albums. Some of the most famous color images of the Reich were taken by Eva herself, in a life completely detached from the suffering outside. Unity. Mitford visited the Berghof too, thrilled by the luxury and attention, unaware that Hitler showed the same world to others. What the world saw above ground was only half the truth. Beneath the Berghof and surrounding buildings was a vast network of tunnels, storage vaults, bunkers, treasure rooms, emergency escape routes, wine cellars, archival chambers. Some tunnels were meant for military defense. Others were built specifically to hide the stolen wealth of Europe. Inside these tunnels, soldiers later found crates of stolen silverware, jewelry taken from Jewish families, French wine collections, priceless paintings, gold bars, diplomatic gifts, Eva Braun's personal belongings, film reels, letters, diaries. Eva once joked, "Down here is everything Adolf doesn't want the world to see." She was right. The secret safes. Behind locked steel doors, Hitler stored cash, foreign currencies, bonds, valuable metals, personal letters, blackmail documents, collections of rare books. He didn't trust banks. He trusted the SS more. The underground world at Obersalzberg was as large as a small airport, and much of it still hasn't been fully explored even today. Few people know that Hitler had a private train. Its name was America, a strange symbol of his obsession with America's industrial power. America wasn't just a train, it was a mobile kingdom, armored sides, escort trains with guards, anti-aircraft guns on guard wagons, a conference car for generals, a private dining car, sleeping compartments, radio communication rooms, luxurious interiors for Hitler's entourage, secretaries assigned 24/7, state-of-the-art communications, bulletproof windows. Whenever Hitler traveled, he did so in comfort so extreme it shocked even the generals. His lovers used it too. Eva traveled on America during some tours, enjoying fine meals prepared by chefs as the train crossed Europe. To Germans, Hitler walked among soldiers. To his inner circle, he traveled like a monarch in a moving palace. Beyond art, Hitler accumulated enormous personal wealth. The stolen bank accounts. Jewish families fleeing Germany were forced to sell property far under market value or surrender bank accounts entirely. Much of this money flowed into Nazi accounts, and a portion into Hitler's personal funds. The corporate bribes. Executives frequently sent envelopes of cash, luxury cars, and expensive gifts, rare wines, private access. Hitler personally owned an entire fleet of Mercedes, multiple estates, art collections worth hundreds of millions today, personal funds far exceeding his official salary. This was not a simple man. This was one of the wealthiest men in Europe, and one of the most heavily protected. The women closest to Hitler didn't just witness this world, they lived inside it. Geli Raubal, she felt the luxury as imprisonment. Golden cages are still cages. Eva Braun, for her, the luxury was love. Attention from Hitler meant gifts, travel, cameras, fashion. She embraced the bubble of privilege, unity. Mitford. Luxury validated her obsession. Every visit to the Berghof felt like stepping into destiny. Winifred Wagner. She saw the luxury as an extension of Hitler's genius. The secretaries. They saw the truth. Hitler needed comfort, attention, and flattery constantly. He was not a godlike leader, but a man terrified of appearing weak. April 1945. Berlin was burning. The empire Hitler built through blood, fear, and lies was collapsing hour by hour. Everything he had hidden, the luxury, the stolen art, the underground vaults, the lovers kept in the shadows, was unraveling. And inside the darkness of a concrete bunker, the final mask would fall. 8 meters beneath the shattered streets of Berlin stood one of the strangest monuments of World War II, the Führer bunker, the underground fortress where Hitler spent his final days. Outside, Soviet artillery was reducing the city to dust. Inside, Hitler still lived with comforts no ordinary German would ever see. He had a private bedroom, clean sheets and fresh linens, hot meals prepared daily, imported tea, wine, and coffee, personal physicians, laundry staff, secretaries working day and night, and Eva Braun, the woman who chose death to stay beside him. Berlin, above, was starvation and fire. But Hitler clung to a small island of comfort, refusing to face reality. While everyone else fled Berlin, Eva Braun did the opposite. She left the safety of Bavaria, left the sunlight of Berghof, left the luxury of silk dresses, French perfume, and her photography albums, and ran straight into the collapsing heart of the Third Reich. She came for one reason: to die with Hitler. He didn't ask her to come. He didn't forbid her either. He simply accepted her presence, the same way he accepted her loyalty for 12 years without ever giving her a place in public life. Eva's final days. In the bunker, Eva behaved like the first lady she never got to be. She dressed beautifully each morning, a silent act of defiance against fear and despair. She chatted with the secretaries, offered wine to those shaking with anxiety, danced to gramophone music when the city trembled above. She never complained. And then, in the final 36 hours of Hitler's life, Eva finally received what she had wanted for more than a decade: a wedding. 1 a.m., April 29, 1945. A small room lit with dim bulbs. No flowers and no music. A few witnesses, a brief ceremony, a signature. Eva Braun became Eva Hitler in a world that was dying. During the last 48 hours, Hitler unraveled. His secretaries described him as pale and trembling, barely able to walk, rambling incoherently, muttering orders that no one could carry out, jumping at every explosion. Terrified of betrayal, clinging to impossible fantasies, he raged about generals who failed him. He blamed Jews for everything. He obsessed over troop movements that existed only in his imagination. He still believed Steiner would launch a counterattack, even though Steiner had no men, no tanks, and no hope. The fearless leader became a ghost. The invincible Führer became a frightened old man. The man who once commanded millions now commanded no one, except the woman who still loved him. April 30th, 1945. That afternoon, Hitler and Eva sat down for their last meal, a simple plate of pasta, a small salad, hot tea. As shells shook the bunker walls, the couple ate in silence. Then Hitler walked through the bunker, shaking hands with the last loyalists. Some cried, some saluted, some could barely stand. He returned to his private room with Eva. The final act. In the quiet that followed, Eva bit into a cyanide capsule. Hitler raised a pistol to his temple. A shot echoed through the bunker. The war had taken millions of lives. But in the end, Hitler took his own. As he had commanded, their bodies were carried upstairs, doused in gasoline, and set on fire among the ruins. A dictatorship built on lies ended in smoke. While the bunker burned, Allied forces discovered the truth behind the myth. When soldiers entered the Berghof, they were stunned. Not by military secrets, but by the luxury. They found expensive French wine, rare Belgian tapestries, Italian marble floors, silk curtains, handcrafted furniture, rooms decorated with stolen paintings, silverware from Jewish homes, jewelry hidden in drawers, closets full of Eva Braun's elegant dresses, a private cinema, shelves of fine porcelain, leather-bound books, photo albums filled with parties, picnics, and skiing trips. In the underground tunnels, they found gold bars, precious metals, crates of stolen silver, archives, letters, personal diaries, wines worth fortunes, diplomatic gifts, artworks missing for years. This wasn't the home of a man who lived simply. This was the home of a king, one who wanted the world to never know he lived like one. The women closest to Hitler exposed the things he hid from the world. Geli Raubal. She revealed his possessiveness, his obsession, his inability to let anyone be free. Eva Braun. She revealed his emotional emptiness, a man incapable of real love, only control. Unity Mitford. She revealed the dangerous charisma he projected, the spark that could turn admiration into madness. Winifred Wagner. She revealed how Hitler fed on worship, how he needed to be believed in by someone, anyone. The secretaries. They revealed his insecurities, his childish habits, his paranoia, his fragility. Together, these women gave us the real portrait of Hitler. Not a titan, not a mastermind of superhuman coldness, but a weak, frightened, emotionally stunted man, hiding behind violence, power, and myth. Hitler didn't rise because he was strong. He rose because he understood illusion. He made Germans believe he lived simply. He sacrificed everything. He was morally pure. He was above desire. He was chosen by destiny. Only he could save the nation. But behind the scenes, he lived like an emperor, stolen riches, secret lovers, mansions, bunkers filled with treasure, a private train, private cinemas, luxury unimaginable to ordinary citizens. His life was the most dangerous kind of performance, a lie so convincing that millions followed it. The darkest truth about Hitler is not just what he did, but how easily people believed in the version of him that never existed. And when a nation believes a lie about its leader, history shows how quickly the world can burn.